We're going to go over logos and logo types. So we're going to go over what are logos, how many types of logos, and then an overview of logo types. And as always, you can ask questions by emailing me or talking to me in class. So, what is a logo? We use and see logos in our everyday lives all the time. They are how we identify brands, schools, businesses, and even sometimes ourselves. Logos are an easy way to help people recognize not just a brand, but everything they know about that brand. We even sometimes decide whether we like something based on the initial logo we see. This can very much be seen if we look up Lay's chips. So if we look at an image of Lay's chips branding, we know these very well. So this is a very classic Lay's branding that we all know. However, if you go to England and you get Walker's chips, they are made by the same company as Lay's. And you can see here that the branding is very similar. It just says Walker's instead of Lay's, and there's some different flavors. So I'm going to pull up a tab again so that we can see them together. Let's go to images. So if I do this, okay, play nicely here. You can see the similarities between the type that they're using, the symbolism that they're using, and so on. There's a little bit of change just because this is marketed towards Europe and England. I'm not sure how widespread this is in England or in Europe. I spent a year in England, so I know a lot more about this than further out. But we very much know this brand from the US, and there are similarities. They're made by the same company. There are a couple differences. Like this one, you can see the light, but that's very similar to here for the classic chip. You can see how it's very tight here, and on these, it's the same. So the branding in general is the same. The same goes for if we look up Galaxy Chocolate, which is a British chocolate. And you can see the branding here. And then if I go over to this one, and I type in Dove chocolate, you can see how similar the branding is with how their words are, the coloring, the symbolism on them. And these are made by the same company as well, or affiliated companies that are under a mass brand. So this is where you can very much go to a different company and find a brand that you know and that you like rely on or believe in, because you know it from your country and they have similar branding. This is why it's so important that we pay attention to branding, is it can help us to identify things we know. It helps us understand a brand. It also gives us ideas about a brand. Dove chocolate is probably more now seen as more like close to a general chocolate that you can get most places, but when it first came out, it was like a higher brand, sort of up with like Linden at that time. So now they're things you can get pretty regularly, but then it was more of a selective kind of chocolate. It wasn't as mainstream as it is now. But if you were at that time looking at this, and it's still considered a better, like a higher tier option than like say like Hershey's or some of those. So you know the brand and the quality of that chocolate. When you go to a different country like England, you would see similar branding and you would expect the same quality and that from that brand as well. So that's kind of how branding can help us identify things, understand quality, and really associate ourselves with a brand. So, how many types of logos are there? So, there's about 7 main groups. There's an abstract logo, a mascot logo, a letter mark, a pictorial mark, a word mark, an emblem logo, and a combination mark. So, you can see examples of all of them over here. So an abstract mark is a logo that does not look like a recognizable object like a bird or a plane. Instead, it is a set of geometric shapes that form a design. So here we have BP, Pepsi, and Adidas. None of their logos are recognizable. They don't tell you anything about that brand. The Pepsi logo really doesn't give you any idea it's for a soda brand. It doesn't give you an idea of what kind of brand it is at all. Adidas kind of looks like a flower, so you might assume that it's, you know, for like a perfume brand or something like that if you only saw the symbol, but we are so familiar with it that we know that it's a shoe company slash clothing company, and BP is very similar. It's probably not as recognizable because I don't, as far as I know, there aren't a ton of BP stations in the valley. I can only think of like a handful, but BP is a petroleum company, but their symbol would make you think maybe they work with like flowers or they work with like oils of some kind, so like sunflower oil or there was another one like avocado oil or something like that kind of thing. They don't really, it doesn't scream gasoline, petroleum, that kind of thing. Mascot logos are often illustrated characters used to represent a brand. These logos are colorful, fun, and often cartoonish. The logos are often used as brand spokespersons. So here we have the Kool-Aid Man, we have the KFC, so Colonel Sanders, and we have Mr. Peanut. All three of these are very recognizable because not only with these mascot logos are they the mascots of the companies, but they have also become cultural icons. So that's a lot of times what happens with mascot logos if they're extremely popular. So the Kool-Aid Man is often referenced in Family Guy and American Dad. Um, Breaking through walls at inopportune moments and being like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here, that kind of thing. So it's become a cultural icon within TV shows that are cultural and talk about our times and that kind of thing. The Colonel Sanders became really popular in the last couple years again because of a video game that was put out for him. So that has made him a cultural icon within, especially within the gaming space and that kind of stuff. It's not like a serious cultural icon, but it's still there. It's something that's making it more than just the symbol of KFC. And then Mr. Peanut. Mr. Peanut, I do believe, was in some Christmas specials when I was a child, more like claymation stuff. And now he's more widely known as a cultural icon for his showing in Family Guy, or not Family Guy, excuse me, American Dad, when they were talking about the Illuminati. And it became a whole thing where Mr. Peanut was there and he was part of a conspiracy and that kind of stuff. So this is what happens with the mascots a lot of times is they turn into cultural icons, especially for larger brands. A lettermark is a type of or is a type-based logo that uses 2 to 3 letters to represent a group with a long name or as a logo to use in tight spaces. It can be longer than 2 to 3 letters, but usually it's a pretty short one. HBO, IBM, and NASA are ones that we should all be familiar with. IBM is probably a little less familiar, maybe, because it was more around in like the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s. I don't think it's had a whole, I think it's kind of been more in the background since then. HBO is commonly known for shows and big productions and that kind of thing. And then NASA is our National Aeronautical Space Association, I do believe. Um, and the reason that it's short is because it would take a lot to say that repeatedly, so we all just call it NASA. So these can be really cultural as well, but more in an artistic sense. So IBM's logo is very much a symbol of logos. It's something to look up to. It's kind of one of the big, this is what a logo should be. This was hugely like influential in its time. It's considered to be like one of the like historical icon like logos that we look at when we study logos more in depth, that kind of thing. Um, you see these everywhere, so think about it like when you see HP, there stands for Hewlett Packard, Mac stands for Macintosh computers, so we use these for all kinds of things. A pictorial mark or logo mark is an icon or graphic that represents a brand. These are often simple illustrations that are easily recognizable, sorry. So there's 3 here. We all know what these are without any explanations. This stands for Mac. This is for Twitter, which is now X, and this is for Target. So all of these we can just see the representations and we immediately know what brand they're for, and that's how you can use a pictorial mark. These are really great for if like on the back of a MacBook computer. They don't have to put their name on it. They just have to put this Apple and we all know what it means. Target's the same. Target sometimes on some of their stuff doesn't even put their name on it. They just put the Target on it and we all know that's Target. Like the brand's association is there. Even now, even with Twitter no longer being a thing, we all still know this bird. We all still know what it is to tweet and that kind of stuff because this was a very big cultural thing for a while. So this logo will be a part of history. Okay, word marks, similar to letter marks, are type-based logos that display the company name in a manner that is memorable. This can be done with simple flourishes, the font, and/or colors. So the Visa logo, they have used a simple flourish over here that makes this a memorable logo. We all know the Visa symbol. It's on all of our credit, it's on all of our debit cards, it's on a lot of credit cards. It's anywhere you can use a credit or debit card. We all mostly even know their saying of Visa accepted everywhere. Like, they're a huge brand that we all know about, and they've gone very simple with this. I don't think they have this font copyrighted. I'm pretty positive that Coke either has this font trademarked or copyrighted. I don't remember which one. But you can't just use that font willy nilly. Um, this flourish, though, if you copy this exactly onto yours, Visa would ultimately sue you. Coca-Cola uses their colors and their font here to represent. I mean, Visa uses their colors as well. Coca-Cola uses this font and the flourishes in it to represent their brand, and you can't do something similar to that because it comes out that you're taking money away from their brand and diminishing their brand. So that's something that is important to know is that when you see logos like this, you have to be careful if you're going anywhere near those, like close to the logos, because it can end up with you getting in trouble. Google, the font Google uses, I'm pretty sure you're able to use, but you can't use these same colors in this same order because this is how we know Google. Like we all know that Google Slides is this color, Google Sheets is this color, Google Docs is this color, and Google something, which I don't remember what it's called, is this color. It's not like a database. It's like Microsoft Access, I do believe. Anyways, it's not entirely important, but these colors represent what Google is. They represent what Google offers, and they're used in all of their branding. So if you use the same colors, same order, same stuff, then you'll end up in trouble. That's what their brand is and their logo is. So an emblem logo usually consists of a symbol or icon, such as a badge, seal, and crest. These logos tend to have a traditional appearance, but also have a big impact. So Harley Davidson is a good one because they have this badge in the back here with one across it. So everyone pretty much knows Harley Davidson's motorcycles symbol because it's old. It's a very traditional logo. Um, Starbucks went with more of like a seal or like a badge icon with their mermaid in the middle. Paramount's is very much similar. They're all very traditional logos in what they show. Um, they're rather simplistic logos. There's nothing too complicated about them, but they very much represent these companies and have represented them well. And then we have combination. So a combination logo is a combination of a word mark or letter mark with a pictorial mark, abstract mark, or mascot. So here we have Doritos, we have their abstract mark in the back, and then Doritos, we have Burger King with the Burger King being the patties, and then the blue swoop again, and then we have this little guy down here where we have the name, and then we have the little alligator. So, and you can have these individually. So like if you took Burger King out of this and just had the two patties with the swoop around it, you'd still associate with Burger King. You could probably put this on something and people would still know it was Doritos. And the same goes for the little alligator here. If we did that, we would be like, "Oh, that's an alligator. Like that's that brand." All right. So that's everything. If you have questions, feel free to email me, talk to me in class, and I will do my best to explain.